Hi, I'm Patricia Jackson, and I'd like to share an experience with you. Have you ever been sick? That's a silly question, right? Of course you have. You're a person in a body in a world with troubles, viruses, and disease. Most of us, thank God, live in pretty good health. We go about so many of our days not even thinking about our bodies. But the moment we fall ill, perhaps a cold, maybe throw our back out, or break a bone, and all you can think about is the pain, discomfort, comfort, or your limitations. You're suddenly aware of the gift of good health when it's gone, but you kick yourself for not being more grateful when you were well. You realize you lived a miracle of happiness and wellness until the day your sickness started. But have you ever been sick for an entire year? 5 years? How about a decade with an ailment? It almost destroyed me. Financially, I bled my family dry. And to add insult to injury, the care I received wasn't even very good. We spent all we had on doctors. How can you get good medical attention when the doctors themselves are afraid to touch you? And then the mind starts to play games. What if this is my new normal? What if the sickness never goes away? Did I do something wrong? Did I do something to deserve this? And then the most terrifying question of them all, is God punishing me because he's displeased with me? It was that question, that terrible question, that honest question that I lived with for the better part of a decade. And believe me, I wasn't just beating myself up. The law told me I was unclean. Moses wrote about my condition like this: when a woman's discharge of blood flows many days, all of the days of her discharge, she is unclean. And any bed she lies on, any furniture she sits on will be unclean. Imagine not being able to hold your spouse's hand or greet your friend in the street, to sit down and share a meal. Imagine not being able to touch a face of a child that you love. If your child does touch you, if in a moment of joy or your pain, your spouse reaches out to touch your hand, if in a moment of forgetfulness, a friend greets you and sits down on the same bench you're sitting on, and they too become unclean, and you must wash everything and isolate until the evening. I couldn't buy food in the markets, prepare a meal for the family. Everything I did or anyone I touched was tainted. My life, my very presence, was a burden to everyone I knew at first. Then it was a terrible, shameful reminder of sin for 12 years. Then came Jesus into the world, into my world, and on my street. Oh, I'd heard of him. I've heard of his humble birth, of the miracles he performed. The blind could see, the lame could talk, the deaf could hear, and demons raged out of bodies into the abyss at his command. I heard he taught with authority, loved little children, was born of a virgin in a manger of all places. He shamed the wisdom and pride of the Pharisees with simple, powerful words. He was the Messiah sent by God, just as the prophets had promised, to set us free from oppression of our enemies. And then he walked down my street. Christmas was for Christmas was for many has become this beautiful but strange celebration that so often overlooks the simple, shocking human story of Jesus' advent into the world. There we were, humanity, alone, lost, without hope, desperate, forgotten, powerless to help ourselves, but so in need of help, unclean and unable to make ourselves clean, so in need of God's touch. And suddenly there he was, among us, God's answer to all our pain, the great healer, our Redeemer, on my street. And so I ran to him and reached out to it for his hand. My friends, oh my friends, in a single moment as I reached out to touch the hem of his garment, Jesus healed me. And so I was so afraid in that crowd that my touch might make everyone in the crowd unclean, make Jesus himself unclean. Then I was in the midst of the crowd within reach, breaking the law to be set free from its impossible demands. My uncleanliness was erased right there for all to see. On my first Christmas, when Jesus walked into my street and entered my circumstances, he transformed my darkness and my pain in a moment. He brought all my hope to life. Sisters, brothers, Jesus came to the world to help you in your pain and helplessness. This Christmas, may you see that he is present in your life and body to bring you living hope. Amen.